fuels are really damaging the earth, and it's really harmful to the environment. So today we're walking out here to try to convince the companies that, you know, climate change and stuff. Yeah. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but we're just out here trying to make a change.
Are you a teacher?
Yeah.
Why are teachers getting involved in this?
Because our CalSTRS, the California State Teacher Retirement, I forget what the last S is for, our retirement fund is invested in fossil fuels, and despite numerous petitions and such to divest, they are still invested, including in Enbridge, which did Line 3. So yeah, that's why we're here, is to say that, you know, it's our retirement fund and our money shouldn't go to destroying our future.
Why do they continue to invest in fossil fuels?
That is a question we want to ask them. I mean, the boilerplate answer is that the return on investment is good. What's the use of money if the climate is completely destabilized? Like, that's not going to work. You know, I'm 30, so 30 years in the future ain't looking too hot right now. So, yeah.
And is your union calling for divestment?
My local and my state, yeah, but we got to do more than petitions apparently, because they ain't listened yet.
But there are members of your union on the board.
Correct. Those are some people we need to talk to about that for sure. Alex Day, yeah, Berkeley.
My name's Cynthia Mahoney. I'm with Climate Health Now. We're a group of 500 health professionals across California, and we're here because climate change is a human health emergency. We have to act now. This is the group I'm with. Well, first of all, it's here and now. It's going to affect everyone. In California, the wildfires, the smoke that killed over 3,000 people. Most people don't realize that smoke travels for thousands of miles. So heat, pregnancy outcomes, flooding, mental health impacts are huge.
Yes, I'm Adrienne Vanyon, who's a psychiatrist, and I've seen climate change impacting my patients through wildfires, through flooding, through trauma, through PTSD, through depression, through anxiety, through worrying about their children. And so as a doctor and psychiatrist, I feel I have to be part of the efforts to tackle climate change.
Talk about how the wildfires have affected people in California.
Well, you know, they lost their homes, they lost their communities, they have flashbacks of what they went through. It's hard after you experience something like that to feel completely safe ever again. Even if you're no longer in a wildfire area, you know that everything can be taken away from you in an instant, and that's a terrifying reality. And climate change is going to involve many more unpredicted, enormous upheavals, and so that's something that I know will be impacting all my patients. Throughout the US and even globally, there has always been poor access to mental health, or less than is needed.
What happens when people don't get mental health care after a traumatic situation like fires or floods or hurricanes?
Some recover on their own, but for many, they might develop a chronic mental illness or be more sensitive to future stressors and have decompensations more easily in the future.
Good honor. And Wendy is with the Sierra Club. She's the outreach director there. She's a microbiologist, and she specializes in mushrooms and fungi to remediate the burned soil. And she also teaches kids in Paradise who are traumatized youth, and she works with them through art and play.
Thank you guys for having me here today. I am so honored to stand here and speak with you guys. It is a hard experience to have to live through, and I would never wish it upon anyone. I lost my home, as Mary Kay said, in 2018 in the Camp Fires. Many of our surrounding areas, other communities, Concow, Olga, Yankee all were devastated by the fire that went through. 86 people died in that one fire. It was one of the biggest experiences that I could take in, considering just 2 months prior to that fire, I was here in San Francisco at the last climate march that we had, and then to lose everything following that was just devastating. So many of my neighbors, friends, we are climate change refugees. We have been displaced. I left my home with my cat, my son, and my mom who was disabled. And we need more now practices of traditional ecological knowledge and help restore our lands. And as Mary could say, I do that through the use of fungi. I'm the president of the Mycological Society of New York State. And through that, I do advocacy with youth to help them be active stewards in our community. It's up to our youth to take on this, and that's something that is a burden I feel they should never have had to take, but it is theirs. And I am so proud of all the youth that I see here today standing up and taking a stance to this.
The things that were most valuable were valuable because of the memories they represented. Those have burned. And it's going to keep happening. Paradise wasn't the first, and it's not going to be the last. In my life, I have watched the climate change. In Paradise, you could grow up and know that the rains of October were coming. On November 8th, it was unseasonably dry, hot, windy conditions. A spark from a mismanaged power company went into mismanaged forests that became the most costly disaster in the world for 2018.
I'll go get him.
That's all right. Because you feel that. The reality is that we are all connected. So the loss that I feel, you're feeling that too, and that is why you are here. The thing is, we need the people in these insulated halls of power to feel what we're feeling, and that is why we are here. That is why I have paint from the ashes of my family's home. This is ashes I carried from my family's home to paint in front of BlackRock so that they may feel it. This is every memory I have as a child in here, made to ash.
I'm a retired OBGYN, and I'm really concerned about the climate and its impact on our planet's health as well as my patient's health, so that's why I'm here. We need to really stress the urgency of this issue, and that we don't have time. We need to act now. We need to turn off the money to fossil fuels, and we need to learn how to deal with this, and it's really urgent, and we have to move now. Through our consumerism and our greed, we've exhausted all the resources in the planet, and we need to turn off. We need to change our attitude actually about what is important, and it's not making profits and greed. And so we need to think about the health and mental health and physical health of our planets and our patients.
People who have been killed in wildfires came from our county in the last 4 years. And so we are here in front of BlackRock, the largest investor in PG&E. We take it personally, so we brought our stories to their front door. And what I want to say to them is, you can greenwash all you want, but we still see your dirty laundry. Traditional ecological knowledge teacher, mentor,
Right.
So my name is Khalid. I am here to represent my country, Palestine, and I am here to demand to come right to the steps of the office of the people who are responsible for a large part of the destruction of our world, and I am here to demand immediate action, immediate divestment from fossil fuels.
And oil, how does oil factor in the climate crisis? Oil in the Middle East?
Yeah, so oil in Southwest Asia right now being a resource that is under demand. The Western world, and specifically the US, has gone with no consideration for the lives of hundreds of thousands of people there. They have murdered them, they have caused wars to exploit a resource. So the way that I see it and the way that everyone should see it is that imperialism in Southwest Asia and climate justice are intertwined and inseparable.
U.S. military, what's the role of the U.S. military?
So the U.S. military is the one that violently, without them there would be no one violently pushing forward the motivation for the exploitation of resources of oil, of timber in South America, and all of those places. The U.S. military is directly responsible, and they haven't considered. They do not care about the lives of the people there.
And the war machine,
yes. Yeah. The military's violence, capitalism, and imperialism are not only inseparable from climate change, but they are the cause, and it is our responsibility to stop them within our lifetime.
So we're discussing it's courageous and murder that is
BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world. And they have lots and lots of money financing and funding of the fossil fuel companies, oil, gas, coal, and also deforestation. And if they didn't fund the fossil fuel companies, they couldn't exist. They need money from the banks and from the asset managers like BlackRock. I'm here because I have a 2-year-old granddaughter. And I want her to grow up in a world that is not consumed by fire and flood and hurricane. And in order to do that, we need to keep 80% of the known assets for fossil fuels in the ground. We can't do that if we don't have, if we can't shut these companies down, and that's BlackRock's problem.
But isn't that how the system operates? Profit for exploitation of resources, fossil fuels, utilities selling more electricity. I mean, isn't that the whole way it goes in this country?
And that's what's got to stop. We have got to have a new system. We have to do it a new way, because we're killing ourselves. Larry Fink's got children and grandchildren, I imagine. Doesn't he care about them? And not only my grandchildren too. I mean, I'm doing this for Willa, my 2-year-old grandchild, and for everybody else's grandchildren as well.
So they have a future.
So they have a future.
And you're here blocking BlackRock?
We are. We are standing in front of the doors of BlackRock saying, no business as usual. We have to have a different model. We can't keep running the show this way.
What's your name?
Claire Schoen. And I'm with a group called Grandmothers for a Green New Deal.
My name is Jayla Burton. I'm the program manager at Breast Cancer Action.
How does climate affect cancer?
Yeah, so specifically the fossil fuel industry, which is comprised of, extracting, production, all of that infrastructure is associated with a lot of chemicals such as endocrine disruptors and carcinogens that increase breast cancer risk. So that's why we are really important, be a part of this movement.
There's been a cancer epidemic in this country for many years. Why do we have to face this cancer epidemic?
I think it's important to get to the root of breast cancer. There's a lot of energy going into the treatment and retroactively addressing it, but not enough energy that's going into, okay, what are the root causes of it, which simultaneously are the same things that are destroying our earth as well. So a lot of the chemicals that we're exposed through in our water, air, and soil not only are really harmful for the environment, but also can have generational effects on different communities, and especially for women in periods of where they're more susceptible in the development. So there's different windows of susceptibility when the breast is developing, where it's very vulnerable to these exposures. And so that's why we think it's really important to get to the root of the breast cancer epidemic by addressing things like fossil fuels, defunding fossil fuels, and all of the environmental things that are at play here.
I mean, it seems the liability, these companies spew the fuels, the toxins, but there's no liability for them.
Yeah, there isn't. We're actually doing this campaign right now. It's called Stop Banking on Breast Cancer, where we're calling on Susan G. Komen to dissolve their relationship with Bank of America. Bank of America is one of the top fossil fuel funders, and they've claimed that they care about breast cancer. They have put on this big PR media scam, but at the same time, they're really behind a lot of, these issues that we have. Like, they funded the controversial Line 3, for example, and also have really deep partnership and ties with people like Chevron, BP, and other people in the fossil fuel industry. So that's why we think, it's important, and that's why we're doing this campaign throughout the month of October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, or that's what it's most notably known as. But, we are past this point where we need awareness. We really need action.
And the effect on black and brown communities, is there disparity?
Oh, most definitely. So when you're looking at cancer rates specifically, or a lot of other health problems, you can see disproportionate rates between communities of color, which are often the communities that are on the front lines of a lot of these infrastructures. I know, especially, for example, I'm doing a lot of work in California, and we just had a huge win with Governor Newsom drafting some language for a 3,200 foot setback, which would mean that there's 3,200 feet between fossil fuel infrastructure and where people live, work, and play. And so that is really going to be, beneficial for the communities that live around those areas, which are often people of color or low income.
Environmental racism?
Environmental racism, that's the way to sum it up. They're like preaching these net zero concepts, and really which it kind of is like, oh, we want to be net zero by 2050. Well, it's too late. We're being harmed now. The things that are in our environment now are going to last for generations and have huge impacts. And so that's another reason that we know that it is mostly and for the profit. We termed coined a term called pinkwashing, which is companies that claim they care about breast cancer but do the exact opposite in terms of producing, selling, or involved in some sort of practice that may increase the risk. And similarly, our environmental justice partners, like someone was speaking today calling out BlackRock for their greenwashing, which they position themselves to say that they care about the sustainability of the earth, but they're really doing everything in opposition to that.
Are you guys with BlackRock?
No, sir.